Hello, and welcome back to Divorce in Plain English UK. I'm Vincent, and this is Chapter 7. In the last chapter, we talked about the emotional toll of the financial remedy process, the waiting, the uncertainty, and that horrible feeling of being stuck in limbo. Today, I want to move us forward. This chapter is about what happens after the financial settlement is reached. How do you actually implement what's been agreed or ordered, and how do you start rebuilding your financial life? As always, a quick reminder before we go any further. I'm speaking from my own experience and from general information. I'm not a solicitor or a financial advisor. This is not legal or financial advice. Your situation will be unique, and you should always speak to a professional about your own case. For a lot of people, the day a financial order is approved or an agreement is finally signed is a strange mix of relief and sadness. On paper, you now have clarity. You know who is keeping the house, what's happening with pensions, how savings and debts are being divided, and what maintenance, if any, has been agreed. But on an emotional level, you may feel numb, disappointed, angry, or even cheated. You might have hoped for more. You might feel that the outcome is unfair, even if it is within the range of what the law thinks is reasonable. It's completely normal to have mixed feelings. What matters now is what you do next. Let's start with the practical side, implementing the order. If the house is being sold, that usually means contacting an estate agent and putting the property on the market, agreeing on a listing price, access for viewings, and how offers will be handled, keeping track of the mortgage, insurance, and bills until the sale completes. Then, when the sale goes through, making sure the equity is divided exactly as the order sets out. If one of you is staying in the property and taking over the mortgage, it means speaking to the lender about a transfer of equity, checking whether the lender is willing to approve a new mortgage in one name only, arranging any lump sum payment that is due to your ex if that's part of the deal, getting the legal ownership changed at the land registry. With pensions, if there is a pension sharing order, there will usually be a percentage set out in the order, a time frame for when the pension provider must implement the transfer, forms to complete and send to the pension scheme, sometimes with fees, a need to set up or nominate a receiving pension arrangement in your own name. If you have maintenance, either child maintenance or spousal maintenance, you'll need to check when payments start and how they're to be made, set up standing orders or direct debits, or agree on another regular method. Keep records of what is paid and when, in case of future disputes. There are also often loose ends that it's easy to forget when you're exhausted. Closing joint bank accounts and credit cards, removing one another as authorized users on accounts, changing beneficiaries on life insurance or death in service benefits if appropriate, updating wills or making a will if you don't have one. None of this is glamorous, it's admin, and after months of forms and letters, you may feel like you can't face any more paperwork. But getting these things done is how you move from on paper to in reality. It's how you take back control. In the Financial Remedy Roadmap, I include a post-order checklist, a simple list you can work through, one item at a time, so you don't miss something important just because you're tired or overwhelmed. Now let's talk about rebuilding your financial life. When the dust settles, you may look at your bank balance, your income, your housing situation, and your pension, and feel a deep sense of loss. You might be starting again from almost nothing. You might feel like you've gone backwards 20 years. You might be looking at your age and thinking, how am I ever going to recover from this? I know that feeling. In my own case, coming out of the process with a high mortgage burden, a very small pension from a part-time weekend job, and no savings in the background, it was easy to feel like my future had been shattered. It felt like all of my hard work had gone into simply surviving the divorce rather than building anything for myself. If you are there right now, I want to say this. Your situation is serious, but it is not hopeless. The numbers on the page are real, but they are not the whole story. You still have time, skills, and choices. A good starting point is to create a post-divorce budget. Not a fantasy budget, but a real one. What is your income now, after maintenance is taken into account either way? What are your essential outgoings, housing, utilities, food, transport, children's needs? What debts are you responsible for, and what are the minimum payments? Once you've listed these, you can see whether there is any room at all for savings, even if it's a very small amount at first. You might not be able to save much, but getting into the habit of putting something aside, even a tiny amount, is an important psychological shift. It tells your brain, I am building, not just surviving. You may also need to think about income. Is there scope to increase your hours at work? Is there training you could do to move into a better paid role over time? Are there side projects or second jobs that are realistic, given your energy and responsibilities? In my case, I was already working 7 days a week, which is not sustainable forever. You may be in a similar position, already at your limit. If that's the case, the focus might need to be on reducing outgoings, renegotiating debts, or seeking proper debt advice rather than simply pushing yourself harder. Another part of rebuilding is looking again at pensions and long-term planning, this time from a calmer place. Even if you feel miles behind where you should be, it is still worth contributing what you can, when you can. You may not catch up fully, but you can improve your position compared with doing nothing. If your employer offers any pension contribution matching, make sure you understand it and don't leave free money on the table if you can possibly afford to join. There is also the emotional side of rebuilding. You may still feel angry at the settlement. You may feel that your ex got away with it, or that the system failed you. You may be tempted to keep revisiting what happened, replaying every argument, every email, every hearing in your head. Some of that is natural. It takes time to process something this big. But at some point, you will reach a fork in the road. One path is to stay in the story of how unfair it was. The other path is to say, this is where I am now. I don't like it, but I am going to do the best I can from here. You don't have to pretend to be grateful for a bad outcome. You don't have to minimize what you went through. But you do have a choice about whether you stay permanently attached to the anger or whether you use that energy to build something new for yourself and, if you have them, for your children. If at any point you feel stuck or you just want to talk this through with someone who has been there, you can reach out to me directly via the contact details on my Gumroad page. I'm more than happy to speak with you and share my opinions or views based on my own journey. Just so we're clear, I'm not a lawyer and I can't give you legal advice. I can only speak to you from my own personal experience of going through divorce and dealing with the financial side of it. To recap this chapter, after the settlement, there are 2 big jobs. The first is implementing the order selling or transferring property, dealing with pensions, setting up maintenance, closing joint accounts, and tying up loose ends. The second is rebuilding, creating a realistic budget, looking for ways to stabilize or increase your income, slowly rebuilding savings and pensions, and choosing day by day to move forward rather than staying frozen in the past. In the next chapter, we'll look at how to keep learning and protecting yourself going forward. Things like reviewing your finances regularly, updating your plans as life changes, and using what you've learned in this process to make stronger decisions in the future. Thank you for listening to Divorce in Plain English UK. If this episode helped you, please subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit. And if you want a calmer, more organized way to approach the money side of your divorce, you can find my ebook, The Financial Remedy Roadmap, on Gumroad at https://shinajames.gumroad.com/l/drdgzb. I'll talk to you in the next episode.